Okay, the recording has started.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just get started, and then as people join, I'll allow them to come in. And
Okay.
because
Mm.
it is recorded, we can definitely forward it to whoever missed it, and it'll still be in our records. All right.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
So let me just close this here. Okay. So we have together. Thank you, Natalie Wisdom, CEO and founder of Divine Resilience LLC. Um, Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to do this webinar and kind of bring a highlight and focus and talk about mental health, especially at a time where it seems like in the holiday season, so many people are going through so much as far as like social pressures and trying to meet deadlines and then try to also make sure family is all taken care of with gifts and overextending themselves and budget wise and everything, but it's specifically for small businesses, um, which on top of all of that they have to still maintain their business and make sure that the payroll is paid and the lights are paid and the rent is paid and
Hmm.
the business is still making sales. So there's a lot of social pressures. So thank you for taking the opportunity and taking the time to kind of talk about that and kind of shed some light on social mental health issues, especially with small business owners. So if you could just give us a backdrop, I guess, your business, how long you've been in business, what it is you do, and all of those things.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Natalie Wisdom. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So, in short, like a therapist, pretty much. So, I've been in the field for about 17 years. So, I've been doing pretty much mental health work for over 17 years, worked in a bunch of like outpatient clinics, ran a bunch of outpatient clinics in New York. Most recently relocated back to Connecticut, but just kind of enjoyed working with the people with mental health issues, dealing with anything from like anxiety and depression. So I've also have a background. My bachelor's degree is in criminal justice with a focus on juvenile and family justice. And I do have a double minor in psychology and sociology, and also a certificate in victim administrative services. So just a little bit about my background. So I've been doing this work for a pretty long time. I started my private practice, which is Divine Resilience, in 2023. So next month actually will be 2 years that we've been open in Connecticut. So that's pretty exciting. So it's a group private practice. So I'm the founder, and I have about four clinicians working with me currently, and we're providing mental health services, therapy to people all across Connecticut. So that's been wonderful so far.
That's cool. So when you started your business, I guess, or even before you started, before you went to school, what actually gave you um, the ambition, the drive to actually want to enter into mental health?
Um, so I think I was in high school, and we had career day, and I'll actually never forget. But this one of the women that spoke, she actually was a therapist, and she was also working with DCF as well at the time, and just really kind of hearing the impact that she shared that she had on the people that she was working with was just really amazing to me. So just kind of felt like I wanted to really be able to do that work as well. So I think it really started kind of there. And when I went to college, I actually didn't go for social work. I went for the opposite. I went to, for criminal justice. And then I got through that degree. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to help people when they're in the system. I really want to help people before they got to the system. And I think I could make a real change and impact in that way. So I ended up going for my master's in social work, and, came out and started in community mental health, and just really kind of enjoyed that because, being able to kind of touch people and provide that kind of support and service was just really important to me. So just having that impact. So that's kind of how I got started pretty much in the field. And it's just been kind of going ever since. So,
Interesting. So let's delve into it. So mental health and small businesses.
mhm,
When it pertains to mental health, what are some things that I guess, I, if I were a small business owner, or just
mhm,
anyone in general, especially during the holiday times, what are some things that I should be either myself looking for within myself, or identifying with like other people around me? Like, what are some cues that may trigger or may indicate to say, hey, maybe you want to have a talk with somebody?
mhm. So, this time of the year, it could be very stressful and overwhelming. So, I think that is a big kind of cue, in regards to also just kind of dealing with like the challenges of, the holidays, right? And especially the holidays are so back to back, right? We just had Thanksgiving, now we have Christmas, and then New Year's is coming up. And, also a time where people are spending time with their family. Some people have family to spend that time with, some people aren't in a good place with their family. So, they're isolated and don't have a support system or a community. So I think those things are very kind of like triggering and, things to kind of look out for. Just also feeling burnt out, especially because, at the end of the year, right? You've gone like already 10, 11 months of just kind of working, where people taking time off during that time. And you're like really at the end of the year. So that can be also, very difficult. And how are people kind of managing that work life balance, their personal life, and just kind of like managing the high demands of, you know, their business, right? With just kind of more consumers because of the holiday shopping, and so on. So all the financial stressors in terms of budgeting, making sure that, you have maybe the resources to be able to provide, the consumers what it is that they need. And also from a financial standpoint too, in a business, did you meet all your marks in regards to your bottom line and you're not in the negative? So I think all those kind of add to a lot of stressors and things that come up for people,
Mhm.
during the holiday season too as well. So, and then the weather's changing, it's getting colder, right? So people are a little bit more, it's known that people are a little bit more depressed with that kind of like seasonal affective disorder, or the holiday blues, they call it, right? Versus like in
Right.
the summertime, people are a lot, the sun is out because now, it's snowing out, right? And then it gets darker quicker. So those are things that really kind of like come up, for people during these times. And it could be really kind of difficult, especially if people don't have like a support system or a community to be able to lean on during these times.
So, what would you suggest? So, for instance, a business owner has a stressful job. Let's just say,
Hmm.
for instance, one industry that's really um, boisterous in this time of the year is, like, let's just say, a food industry, or makes like a bakery because everyone wants cakes, or or
Hmm.
let's just say you're an interior designer and everybody's doing these holiday parties.
Yeah.
With all these different challenges, what would you suggest? So in certain communities, seeking professional advice, professional assistance as far as therapy is looked at as like taboo, right? And
Yeah.
what would you suggest, some steps to take for a business owner that may not just say, "Hey, you know what? I feel kind of down. Let me go straight to a therapist." What are some steps that they can take, to maybe lead up to a therapy, or other alternative therapy?
Okay. So even just kind of within the business, I think looking at what boundaries you actually have, like setting clear boundaries, making sure that you are kind of, planning ahead. Self-care is a big thing. I think since the pandemic, I think there's this kind of been just this more influx of like self-care, and people are really kind of more focused on kind of like self-care. And right now people are doing what they call the winter arc, so really kind of making sure that you're resting, you're probably eating right, you are just kind of taking time to just kind of be still and being intentional. I think those are some things that really could be helpful. I do think, yes, there's this kind of like stigma on mental health. Like if people go to mental health treatment, there's something wrong with me, or people, don't want to take that step. And that's definitely understandable, you know. But I think also, if there's someone that you can kind of connect to, if there's like a support group, I know like there's a lot of Facebook groups now, where they have like, people, business owners connecting for support, and they do a lot of events and activities together. Like, especially this time of year, people are doing like vision board parties. So that's definitely something to kind of maybe, think about to kind of join, and to really help. Journaling is really a big thing. So if someone doesn't really want to go to a therapist, maybe it's kind of getting a journal, a self-help book, and, and being able to kind of utilize some of those things. So, I'd like to take the barrier out of therapy and thinking about, oh, it's kind of like that old conventional thing where you go and you sit on a couch and you tell someone your whole life story and they're kind of recording it with a pen.
Mhm.
And I don't like that, So I think about therapy is not like, and I saw a really good quote the other day that said, therapy is about building relationships versus more around theory. So, my work, when I work with my clients and also my clinicians, we really are client centered, and we really want to give people a space. And I think that takes away kind of like the stigma from therapy, in regards to, well, something is wrong with me. No, we all need a space and someone to hold space for us. And I think therapy really kind of gives, that. And we try to kind of help people to kind of think in that place. And also think about it now, like therapy is like going to the gym. We take care of our physical health, which is also something I do encourage, especially this time of year. It's to manage kind of like the work-life balance and running a business, going to the gym, working out, physical activities, going for a walk, taking a hike, making sure you're doing all those things. And therapy can kind of really, be categorized like that. We go to the gym, right, to kind of stay healthy and fit. There nothing does isn't necessarily wrong with us if we go to the gym, right? It's really kind of an outlet, and really kind of viewing therapy is that we take care of our physical bodies when we go to therapy. So I mean, when we go to the gym, so going to therapy is also a point, a place where you're taking care of your mental health as well. So kind of those are some of the things that, really kind of destigmatizing mental health and the way people kind of look at it and like, oh, something's wrong with you, so you're going to therapy. But self care is really good. And looking at therapy as a form of self care could really kind of also help to take away that stigma.
It's interesting you said that because actually the next thing I was going to kind of ask
Hmm.
about is, the stigma of therapy because,
Hmm.
we have this, so I'm an 80s baby. So,
Okay.
me growing up and watching different movies and things of that nature, therapy was looked at as something that, the crazy people went to,
Yeah.
and that it was only really for the crazy people and the people that know the crazy people. But
Hmm.
if you could just talk a little bit more about what does a therapy session look like? Outside of what it is, conveyed or portrayed to be on the big screen, like you
Yeah.
said, you know, lay on the couch and someone taking notes of your life. What does an actual therapy session, look like? Or
Mhm.
actually, what is therapy? Can you go into that?
Yeah. So, and therapy looks different for everyone, right? There's no like one size, like, that fit everyone when it comes to therapy. So, for me, again, I'm very client centered, right? Just so, in terms of just kind of coming into my practice, like, I want to meet the client where they are. So, like, even that first conversation, like, I don't want to sit here, tell me about your grandmother, tell me about your father and this. We can talk about that, but let it be a dialogue. I'm not going to be reading off a piece of paper, asking questions, but really kind of having a conversation and really kind of getting to know the clients. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Like, what's going on with you that kind of brought you here? Like, something happened. Sometimes something didn't happen, but people, again, they want to kind of like take care of their mental health. And this is kind of like another box that they're checking off to do that. So I think being able to just kind of have a real life dialogue with people, and also a lot of the people that we do service too, they're looking for people that look like me, black and brown women or black and brown people, to be able to kind of serve them, because there's not a lot of people that look like me that's really in the field. So I think having someone that can identify with them, that look like them, that can understand the language, the culture, the different barriers and the things that they go through, and just being able to have a space to be able to kind of talk about that, I think that is really kind of helpful. But a typical therapy session could really just also look like a conversation that we're having right now, right? Sometimes people come with, I just want to really kind of tell you what's been going on and what's happening in my week this week. And just, you have some clients where you're like, you just sit there for 45 minutes and then they like tell it, they talk to you, right? And you're just really kind of holding that space and support. And there are clients who really have maybe like some real trauma that they do have and they do want to work through. And it's really about digging into that trauma. So we do a lot of maybe trauma narrative, a lot of CBT informed care with those clients. So it's really kind of like a step by step process and being able to, okay, like when did this trauma kind of happen? What's been going on? How it's really like impacting your life? And what are some steps now that we need to do to be able to kind of, change things and, maybe looking at the trauma from a different perspective. So it's not kind of holding you back, but you're able to continue to kind of function and continue to live and really kind of release the, that pain that you've been, holding on to. Some people just really want to be able to balance life. And, we have people who are juggling motherhood, working, they're a wife and they have a business. And, how do you kind of find structure, balance, and routine to be able to, do those things? Work life stressors, family stressors, we also do family therapy and couples therapy. So bringing the family into session and having, dialogue, like what is the actual issues. If someone's like, all right, this is kind of, what I'm dealing with, and really kind of giving concrete coping skills also to be able to really help them and provide them with the skills that they need to be able to kind of take that back, into the community and into their real life and utilize that. So I feel like anyway for anyone, it's really tailored to that person. I don't feel like there's this one model that fit everyone. We handle people based on who is in front of us, what they're presenting with, and what support and resources, they need at that time.
I think that's really good that you mentioned that because, um, for anyone that is watching or will watch, that it kind of gives a transparency and an openness
Mhm.
to let people know that listen, therapy is not what you thought it was, and therapy is not
Yeah.
what it has been, um, drawn out to be,
Mhm.
from times past to now, and that it's really based upon what you said, it's really an individual experience, and
Yeah.
it's not a carbon copy routine that everyone goes through. When I think it's important for business owners to know that you know having a therapist is fine,
Yeah.
and because like you said, the one thing I wrote down was the communication aspect of it. A lot of times
Mhm.
small business owners don't have the opportunity or sometimes the wherewithal to have conversation outside of what's going on in their business. And again,
Yeah.
especially during this time of year when everything is on go, there's no stop,
Mhm.
there's no pause, it's just go go go. And
Yeah.
usually it goes all the way up until the end of July, at the end of January, when
Right.
things may start to slow down and you kind of get
Mhm.
some of your sense of peace back. But just talking about that communication piece, I think it's so imperative to know that small business owners need to have someone, an outlet to talk to. And I guess that goes into I can segue into the question. So when it comes to communication, um, again, should a person not immediately go straight to therapy session? What are some, I guess, effective communication I guess bullet points or effective communication measures that someone can take, because the one thing you don't want to do, and I don't ever suggest anyone to do, is just tell anybody everything. You want to make sure you have someone you can trust. So what does that look like for maybe a small business owner who works 6 7 days a week and may have a small family and maybe small children at home? What is an effective communications support system? What can that look like?
So having maybe a point person, journaling is really good too, right? So that's really an outlet in regards to just kind of working on communication. Having maybe that one person, right? So if you can kind of pinpoint one person that is going to be able to kind of listen. But also, I think people should also be able to understand their communication style, how they communicate, and what does that look like and kind of feel like, and also what they need from maybe individuals too when they are communicating. Like sometimes you'll go to, I don't know, we get this sometimes in therapy, like, I went to my friend and they are kind of just, I wanted to just share what was going on, but they want to kind of give me all these advice. I don't want advice. I just really kind of wanted a place to someone to hold space for me. So sometimes we are, it's so important to kind of say to someone, hey, I just really need a listening ear. I think I've thought through it, but I just kind of want to just kind of share this with you. How do you feel? How, just kind of to get it off my chest and just really kind of like explore. So just understanding, people's communication style. What does effective communication, look like? So maybe utilizing I statements, because even kind of when, people are feeling overwhelmed with just kind of like the holiday, and, there could be like displaced, distressed, right? And then that can kind of cause, other things. So I think being able to also communicate when you need support, when you need help, what does that kind of, look like, as well. And, active listening is also a big one. So, communicating and then being able to listen to if there is feedback or there's support that's being given to you, and being able to be open and being able to be receptive, to that as well.
That is so important. And I kind of feel like, without having the title, our offices and departments and organizations like ours
Hmm.
are kind of makeshift therapy rooms because a lot of times when we have brand new businesses or even
Hmm.
existing businesses coming in out of frustration, maybe they might have missed a tax deadline, maybe they might have forgot to do certain certificates or register for certain things, and now they have fines and fees and penalties and all types of things going on. Then in that case, sometimes we have to kind of shift from business mode to, okay, listen, it's going to be okay.
Right.
I
Yeah.
hear, I hear what you're doing. I hear what's going on. Just breathe.
Yeah.
Often, so many times in the past 3.5 years since I've been here, it's been like I have to tell so many people, just breathe. You
Yeah.
know, don't make the mountain the molehill. What is it? Don't make a mountain out of a molehill.
Right.
Sometimes I think, if I have to put like my own therapy badge or therapist badge on, it's telling people sometimes, things are not as bad as they may seem. And
Right.
especially, and I guess going, if I had to speak to like, the brand new business owner who is new at entrepreneurship altogether, and everything is just overwhelming because it's like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, and it's like oftentimes, okay, just breathe. This is the process everyone goes through.
Yeah.
The universe or karma isn't picking on you. Sometimes the normal steps are just the normal steps, and taking one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're the professional. Instructing people. Listen, one step at a time. We'll
Oh,
get to the. Every journey begins with one step.
yeah.
The journey will and can take you left and right, but take one step at a time, and then eventually you'll get to where you need to go. But don't, just please just breathe. Breathing is essential. Breathing is very important.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed. Agreed.
what is okay? So let's circle back around because we're almost
Mhm.
at the end of this wonderful session. So let's go back into your business.
Okay.
Should someone watching or someone that's going to watch say, you know what, I hear what you said, and I feel like way in the back of my mind, there's a little indicator saying, okay, this is me. They're talking to me. How does someone reach you, and then and then how does someone um, get access to the services that your company provides?
Oh, sure. So, we are on Psychology Today. So, if someone just goes to Psychology Today and just kind of type in my name, Natalie Wisdom, they'll definitely find me. My website is Divine Resilience LLC. CT.com. So they can also go there and they can kind of check out the website. It definitely gives a bunch of information about me, my team, the teams. Every clinician has a bio, so they can kind of read about the clinician. And sometimes people read about the clinician and they're like, "Oh, this person seems like it would be a good fit." There's a contact form on my website, so someone can fill that contact form out, and it will come directly to me. I normally respond to any contact within an hour tops. So I'm very
Mhm.
responsive, which is really good. If someone wants to pick up the phone and call, we can be reached at 203-361-6038, or they can send me an email at divine resilience llcct at gmail.com. So those are all ways to really reach us and connect with us as well. So Yeah, and we are constantly and always accepting clients. There's no wait list. We definitely try to make the process pretty easy in regards to we do verification ourselves of the insurance information, and that we get people in within less than 7 days at least. So it's not, because when people are coming to you, they're like they're one, maybe in crisis, or they're at really that breaking point where they're like, they need support. So I never want someone to, I'm like, okay, I'll give you an appointment next month. No, we can get you in within a couple of days, if not the next day, to be able to kind of provide the support that they need.
And then, so let's talk about location. So,
Mhm.
it, what is the span and the reach of your business, and then how do people um, they come to an office, or do they, how does it look like?
Yeah, so we are actually a telehealth practice. So we do video sessions with the clients. So we don't at this time right now, we're not an in-person practice. So we are telehealth. So which also gives us the ability to reach everyone in the entire Connecticut, the state of Connecticut, and also gives flexibility, right? So in terms of evening, weekends, maybe morning appointments as well. So there's a lot of flexibility in regards to scheduling appointments too.
That's good because and it's good that it's telehealth because even in regular medical, the medical arena, well, a lot since COVID and because of
Yes,
COVID,
yes,
telehealth is really a big thing. I
yes,
primary as well as specialists have done plenty of telehealth visits with me. So telehealth is really convenient because now
yeah,
that means that really means that a business owner, working from doing bakery from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. can just pull out their phone on the way home, or in the break room, and have a
yes,
conversation, and that conversation can be so impactful that it may just diffuse whatever's going on for the rest of the day. So I think it's important to know, again, for the business owners watching and the ones that may watch, you know, as we close, mental health is very serious.
yeah,
It's more than just a month that we
mhm,
recognize it, but mental health is a lifetime, like you said, self-care. And I think it's important that we have to recognize that and to move in that same manner. The same the same um, I guess, focus that we put on doing our hair, our nails, or buying an outfit, that we have to make sure that mental health is also part of our, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly regimen, to make sure that we don't just look and feel good on the outside, but that
yeah,
on our inside, that we're just as put together as best as possible. And
absolutely.
and I think that's really important to know, and to address. So thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing your wisdom, Natalie Wisdom. So thank you so much for sharing the time and and having the conversation, and really bring a highlight and a focus on mental health for small businesses that are
Mhm.
registered with us. Thank you for everyone that came out,
Yes, thank
and
you.
yes, thank you so much for the audience that came out to watch. This will be recorded, so it will be reposted on a platform once I figure out how to do that, so that the rest of our community can watch and partake. And if you have questions, again, I put the email in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can contact our office, 203-576-8473. Again, Natalie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate it. This topic is very important and just kind of, bringing more awareness and really kind of destigmatizing mental health is really a big thing for me. So appreciate the platform and thank you. Have a happy holiday and thank you everyone for participating.
You as well. Take care.
Goodbye.